Okay, so here we have fence 11. So fence 11 is the first fence after the turning question in the water that Clayton Fredericks was nice enough to walk us through. So there's a short gallop coming up from number 10 at the water, but it's not terribly long. And that's actually one of the constant themes here, is that even up to the galloping fences, there isn't a whole lot of space to make up time. The fences come up pretty quickly. The other aspect of the terrain that you're going to start to notice, or may have already noticed, is that it's very, very flat. So the only changes in terrain that we really see are actually man-made. So off in the distance, and we'll walk up there in a minute, is fence 12, and it's a duck on top of a hill that's been man-made. And also you saw at fence 7, it was sort of also a mound that had been man-made to add some variety to the terrain, because otherwise Pau is extremely, extremely flat. So in any event, this is fence 11, which is a nice galloping fence. It's not huge, it's fairly wide, but it's by no means a max height table. And I think you can tell that particularly when you look at the 2-star fence. So on the left we have the fence 11 for the 2-star, and it's barely smaller than the fence 11 for the 4-star. So we're going to move on to fence 12. Here is the lead up to fence 12. It's called Le Canard, which is the duck, and it's sponsored rather appropriately by Birabin Foie Gras. The fence itself is pretty straightforward. Horses at this level are pretty used to jumping fowl of all sorts. The real question here is the terrain. So this is one of the man-made mounds that we'll see on course. The front end is a gradual slope upwards towards the duck. The back end is a little bit more steep, so the horses are going to, be leaving the ground, and at the last minute we'll have a sense of where they're supposed to be landing. Shouldn't cause too many problems, but at the same time there's a lot of these mounds on course, so if a horse gets, a bad ride or gets a little bit nervous about this type of question, they may have some difficulty later on. Here we are at fence 13. It's called l'entrée des pistes, which is rather appropriate since it's the entryway to the race course. As we mentioned yesterday, part of the Pau course is on a race training center, and so you can see right here actually some of the horses are getting ready to do some gallops. So that's been has imposed some restrictions on when the riders can walk the courses. So there's only certain hours that they're allowed access to this half of the course. It's about half the course is on the racehorse training center. So fence 13 is a nice inviting jump, and it should jump well, and it'll lead up to the next complex, which is just around the corner. We've arrived at fence 14, which is the first of the fences in the racecourse area. It's called Les Triangles, which is the triangles, which is a pretty apt name considering the shape of the fences. So this is a complex with a lot of questions. So first of all, there's 2 mounds, so the horses are going to have to deal with changes of terrain 4 times when they go up, down, and then up and down again. On the first mound, there are 2 options. So there's 14A, there's 2 options, the 2 chevrons. And then on the second mound, there's also 2 chevrons for the B element. And so the horses and riders are going to have to negotiate both of these without circling in between. And the riders are going to have to choose a line and really stick with it, because these chevrons are really quite narrow. Sort of a pick your own adventure type of fence.